Go take your stuff to the alley, but leave the kids alone. Now, a friend of mine sent me some interesting stuff here. It's a good way to understand what happened in Aurora, Colorado, and the anti-gun reactions. It's an interesting timeline of things. Let me run through it fairly quickly here. The time since the introduction of relatively useful long-barreled weapons, approximately 600 years. 600 years the rifle has been around. 600 years, give or take. The time since the introduction of pistols using more than one bullet. At least 150 years. The time since the enactment of the Second Amendment, 221 years. And that's an important number to remember because now, since the effort to blame this on the Tea Party failed, now it's time to go for the Second Amendment. So it's been 221 years since the enactment of the Second Amendment, 600 years since the introduction of the rifle, the long-barreled weapon, and 150 years of a pistol that's able to use more than one bullet. The time since Tim Burton took a charming, funny, and wholesome 1960s kids show. I was thinking about this over the weekend. I remember watching Batman on television. And it was a cartoon show with human characters. I forget the guy who played Batman, Adam something or other. Adam West, that's right. And every time Batman punched somebody, the word pow in a comic book bubble came up. Burgess Meredith played the Penguin. I forget who was the Joker. Maybe Cesar Romero was the Joker. It was a comedy show. It was a cartoon show. It was a charming, funny, wholesome 1960s kids show that was on at 7:30 Eastern Time. But how long has it been since Hollywood metastasized that show with sick, dystopian, and occasionally anti-American worldviews? You know what dystopian, for those of you in real land, is the opposite of utopia. Utopia is perfection on earth. Dystopia is utter, total failure and chaos. Dark, dank, colorless, finished. It's over. So Batman in the 60s on TV metastasizes to a sick, dystopian, hyper-violent Batman movie in 23 years. 23 years since Batman on TV to the first Batman movie. And the birth of the modern Batman series of films with which the killer in Aurora explicitly identified. By his own admission. What are you frowning at me with, Snerdley? But on the I'm talking about the television show, popular media. It was a kid's show. It was hard, family-oriented fun. You laughed at that show. Batman in the comics was not so much that, but it was still a comic book thing. Anyway, 23 years since the Batman TV show, it's become what this guy explicitly identified with. And then you can bring up Oliver Stone if you want to. He made a movie called Natural Born Killers. It was a love story. Woody Harrelson was in it. It was a love story about mass murder. Natural Born Killers. That's the movie the Columbine killers identified with. It took 18 years. They also kind of dug the Matrix movies. The time in which the prevalence of spectacular multiple murders for no obvious point other than celebrity has accelerated approximately the past 20 years. We've had long-barreled rifles, 600 years. We've had multi-bullet pistols, over 150 years. We had the Second Amendment, 221 years. We have had spectacular multiple murders for no obvious point other than celebrity, accelerated like crazy in the past 20 years. My point is, how do you blame the Second Amendment? How do you blame the guns for that? The guns, to do this kind of, been around for all kinds of time, but you can peg other elements in our culture that have been around a lot less time and have a much more, if you want to start arguing, influence. I didn't bring this up. I'm simply reacting to it like I always do. You want to start blaming the Second Amendment, you want to start blaming guns, then let's talk about it. What are you shaking your head in there for? I'm not blaming anybody. I'm reacting. I'm not blaming anybody. The guy who did this is who gets the blame. I'm just not going to sit here and listen to the Constitution of this country be blamed for this. I'm not going to let that go. Pure and simple. They start the game, I'm going to finish the game. I'm Mr. Moneybags in Monopoly, and I'm winning the cash in the middle of the board with the roll of snake eyes. I got to take a break now, even though I wasn't through because I was distracted by Snurdly. Don't go away.